Hi everyone, welcome to another G News update. Well, today the big news is the Ipsos poll. The Ipsos poll for June has been released by Amelia Wade at the Post, and it shows that National are going backwards. They're in deep trouble. They're going down the drain. Overall, National are only on 4.2 out of 10 according to The Nation. So 4.2 out of 10 is less than 50%, and that's a big fail. That's, in Erica Stanford's terms, that's an E, if not an F. So 4.2 out of 10. But more interestingly, there's only 3 areas in which National are now in the lead out of 20 of the top issues in New Zealand. The top issue is the cost of living and inflation, and National promised to fix this, and everyone believed them going into that election. We will promise it. We are superior. We know what to do. Get out of our way. We will not listen to Labor. We won't take any lectures. We won't listen to any advice. We know everything there is. But look, today everything is going to hell in a handbasket, and it's nearly been 2 years. It's been a terrible journey, a massive lesson, a hard lesson for New Zealanders to see what happened there with the ferries, what happened with the cost of living, what happened with the price of butter, mints, insurance, rates, water bills. You can keep on going. The list goes on. And has Nicola Willis helped you? How much money has she put in your pocket? Show me the money. Show me the money that you have put in my pocket. Show me the money that you have put in everyone out there who is listening's pocket. Nicola Willis, where are the results? Did you deliver or did you fail? Well, National are basically just blaming the weather right now. They're saying, hey, look, it's raining, so, just hang on and give it another year maybe. Give it another couple of years. Maybe it's, wait for those prices of houses to go back up. They don't really have any clue. And Nicola Willis herself has said it's up to Kiwis to do the job when it comes to the cost of living, because there's absolutely no way that a classical libertarian ACT party captured National Party is going to intervene. They just think that that's rinky-dink. You hear Christopher Luxon say, we're not going to do these rinky-dink payments. We're not going to help people. We're going to step over people, and we're not going to admit to homelessness exploding everywhere. So when it came to the number one issue, National, a big fail. They're an E. And on the second biggest issue, it remains health. And we've all seen Simeon Brown and health just going in there and privatising and blaming nurses and lashing out at unions and not helping anyone. There's people queuing up now in the corridors in our hospitals. The hospitals are being downsized. They're all half-sized hospitals. They're fighting. They're for tooth and claw. They're being given real terms pay cuts by this government, who will not help the health system, and keep boasting about a budgeted amount, not what is needed, and saying, well, look, because the budgeted amount was a record amount, we will not help the health system. We're going to ignore doctors, nurses, surgeons, everybody else. We just know best. And I think New Zealanders are sick of it, and they see Labor as by far the most caring, best, the best listeners, people that, equipped. We've actually got a doctor, Dr. Aisha Varel, waiting in the wings to come in and become the health minister, versus a bank teller, Simeon Brown, who only knows privatisation and how to cut things and how to sell things and to privatise long-term contracts that nobody got to vote on. It was totally anti-democratic. But still, the National Party just ride over you because they don't care about what you think, do they? So the third biggest issue is the economy. And boy, National just squeak in as being still regarded as the superior managers of the economy, but that's a myth, and everybody that looks at the data knows that what's going on here is that the big radio stations like Newstalk ZB and Stephen Joyce's New Zealand Herald, they've misled everyone to thinking something that's just wrong. The data doesn't agree. The evidence says that this isn't true. So it's a bit like saying, well, there's a flying spaghetti monster out there called the National Party, who are just so good at the economy. But look at the economy. The economy is going backwards. The economy is shrinking. It shrank in June. And all of the indicators are having to be revised down because the economy is basically just a housing market with some bits tacked on, as Bernard keeps saying. And residential investment intentions have been downgraded at the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, and they've been downgraded time after time now, as the housing market is not going to come to the rescue of the National Party. in this Ipsos poll, National's rating has fallen. It's gone from 47% all the way down to 31%, and now it's just a little bit above the Labour Party, so the gaps have closed. On all the other issues, the Labour Party are also closed on the other issue of law and order. Law and order is very close now. There's only something like 7% in it. And we heard Paul Goldsmith now relying on noisy data. That's data that goes like this all the time. And himself saying, well, we expect the data to move around, but we'll take this latest little peek in the data and say that it's all because we have done something like bring in 7 new cops from Henderson into Auckland CBD. And so this is a charade, a game, a false, misleading game that the acting National Party are out there with their friends in the media creating headlines saying, look, law and order is back on track. We've restored law and order. But really the data, the New Zealand Households Crime and Victims Survey is very noisy, and they're just using monthly data. You've actually got to wait until the annual data in October comes out and is compared to last October, and then you'll be able to say or make a claim that violent incidents of crime have actually fallen across a year by some kind of significant amount statistically. But at the moment, you know, what we're seeing is bad misuse of statistics by the National Party, who are desperate. So the Ipsos poll is really about public opinion. It's not really about, you know, the actual data when it comes to the incidence of crime. And so is the household survey of, so is the New Zealand Violent and Crime Statistics Survey. That's really just a sample of opinion. So what we're basically seeing is opinion, and opinion is shaped by media and perceptions. So the reality is that crime is still happening, the incidents of crime going on all the time, and you've got, this kind of game being played where they try and sell you noisy data like this and say, well, the amplitude of that wave, which is about that high, has gone down in the last month. But it's the annual data we need to look at. Right, it's starting to rain on me now. So we saw Barbara was in the news. She made a little mistake about Neil Quigley. He's not on the Monetary Policy Committee, and that was the headline. But the most important point she was making was Nicola Willis knew all along that Neil Quigley had written that letter and didn't say anything. So she was hiding the truth. She wasn't open. She was secretive and blaming everybody else, but she was the common denominator in there. And the New Zealand Herald really needs to go after Nicola Willis now about why she didn't actually come clean. She's using the excuse that she didn't want to get involved in an employment dispute. But that's actually basically what Neil Quigley was also doing. He didn't want to get involved. There were lawyers in the background talking about, the undertaking that he had made, to withdraw that letter. So he couldn't really talk about it without violating an employment deal with Adrian Orr. So on the same basis, Nicola Willis has been secretive. She's withheld information from the public. She's not fit to govern. She's keeping secrets from us all. And she's preferring not to get involved in talking about things at the same time that she's saying, I believe in openness and transparency. I mean, what a hypocrite. It doesn't get much more hypocritical, does it? I mean, really, this is hypocrisy on sticks from Nicola Willis, the pink pantsuit. Boy, who would actually believe this woman going into the next election on anything? I mean, she was going to do the ferries. She was going to make that all better. We were going to know the costs of the ferries. We don't know that. They were going to actually lower the cost of your water bills by now. But look at them. There's going to be 40 entities instead of 15. And the water bills around the country for many places are skyrocketing by not just hundreds of dollars, but by thousands of dollars, which is, really on a cost of living crisis. Just shows how poor these people are at managing an economy. It's all sort of rush and bum and no bloody consultation. They don't listen to advice. They don't do things properly. They go to Parliament and they rush through. They don't go to Select Committee. They do things like rob pay equity and don't go to Select Committee, and they ignore and trample over democracy. Then they get into the High Court, and this is the problem. So those are the kind of things that we're seeing. We also saw Craig Rennie during the week talking about those projections I was talking about there with regard to the lowering of expectation about investment in residential property. That's the housing market. We saw Thomas talking about that again today. and trying to make out that all the politicians were looking in funhouse mirrors, and that at the end of the day, it's us, the people reading the newspapers, who suddenly see our own image in the funhouse mirror because the joke's on us if house prices go up again or stay down or stabilise. We're the ones that still can't afford these ridiculous house prices in New Zealand, whether they've gone up or not. But it doesn't look like the big economic plan from Christopher Luxon to deliver higher prices for houses makes any sense, and it's not going to happen anytime soon, as those forecasts now have gone from here to here to here to here, and the latest is there. So it's getting worse and worse and worse for Christopher Luxon, who is a dead egg talking. He's just talking away about how, green shoots, but the green shoots are disappearing over the horizon, pretty much like Abigail X. You had to invent Abigail X on the horizon there, sort of way up there on that horizon, because over that horizon is the real Abigail, which is a return to surplus that Nicola Willis has no hope of doing in this term or next term or even the term after that, really. On and on and on the story goes as it keeps on getting worse, and the government keeps on performing, dressing up in costumes. Christopher Bishop's quite ridiculous this morning, wasn't he? He got out there and he said, it's fantastic news that the fastest FTA in history with the United Arab Emirates, has just come into effect, and they couldn't name the actual number that it meant in terms of any money that would come into New Zealand. But as I posted, this was really all groundwork that was done since 2007. Then it went to sleep. Then they came to us, and Labour worked with them just before, in September 2023, just before the election, kind of got it all ready, had the paperwork there. All that Todd McClay had to do was sign off and then take the credit. And that's politics, said Labour, but it's really dirty politics, because it's nothing to do with Todd McClay. And of course, Christopher Luxon, he's going to con us. He's going to make out that it was all Todd's doing, and we still don't even know what it even means. Where's the money? Show us the money. How much money have we made from this? So it's a bit of a laugh, isn't it? Really. Big rumours around the internet that you probably all heard this morning were circulating around that Trump was dead. I mean, this is not the first time that those kind of rumours surface, and that all came from something that J.D. Vance had said about a terrible event, and the next thing you know, everybody tells each other that Trump is dead, and it goes viral around the world, and you start seeing it on your feed on your phones, and you have to wait for a few hours before, after doing some Google searches, to find out that no, Trump was seen going to golf, and it's a false alarm. But it does highlight the fact that with Trump at the wheel, there's really no prospect of anything getting better with regard to tariffs. So it's really quite hopeful for Todd McClay and for Nicola Willis to say, just hold on, hang on, help is on the way. They'll be there as fast as they can. So I can sing better than that, but you get the point. It's kind of like a little river band performance. It's kind of like just hang on and hope, because Trump, might change something, because Todd McClay's not going to have any influence. He's a giant blonde bunny in a suit, and he wasted a lot of petrol and put a lot of fumes in the air going over there. I mean, even Christopher Luxon thought it was pointless him going over there, but he went there anyway. And then they created some headlines where Todd's like, well, I've got to confirm that there's nothing I can do, and that this is all just about some kind of trade imbalance. So basically, yeah, we're just seeing a kind of a demise, a decline, National going down the toilet, the flushing of the toilet, while commentators say, well, maybe it's the weather, maybe if it was, sunny and there was some more UV light and people got a bit more vitamin D, they would feel better because they'd be going to the beach. And this has now become the economic plan. This is we're going to wait for the weather to improve, according to the right-wing National Party commentariat. These are the highly paid commentators that work for big propaganda firms that have now been reduced to talking about the weather, because the data shows that things are going backwards. The projections are going down, down, down. So, yeah, oh, wow, the weather, the weather's going to solve everything for the National Party, the superior economic managers whose margins when it comes to public perception on their managing of the economy have gone like this. Now, on G News, everyone's like, this is bloody ridiculous. They're bloody terrible. It should be like a negative number. It shouldn't even be that they're actually in the lead at all, even though that margin is narrowing. And I have to agree. I think it's a hangover of a misleading public perception spread by newspapers that are owned by, commercial people, operators and chaired by people like Stephen Joyce. And they've got these people in there that are telling you a kind of an Atlas Network story about, how the ACT Party, in its view, is the right way to go all the time. Privatise, cut things, keep cutting. Head towards austerity because it's a proven neoliberal formula for us all. Deregulate everything, take away all the protections. So what if there's health and safety issues? So what if your sons and daughters die at work? It's about freedom and flourishing for these people, making it easier, less forms to fill in. And what's in the way? Te Treaty's in the way. So, we've got all that going on in this country, and that's the basic fact of it. It's money versus our culture, our heritage, our history, who we are. And we just got to kind of like get rid of this. We've got to get this off our back. This is what's really happening. So the Ipsos poll today basically started to show us that New Zealanders are sick and tired of it, but they're going to continue to get more sick of it. There's been a pathetic kind of backlash from a number of, trolls that have showed up to G News when we point out these absolutely undeniable facts to them. And, I would have expected more from Sue O'Neill, for example. I mean, she shows up with a couple of pretty uneducated comments, and that's all they've got. They come up to the city walls of G News, and they throw a meme, which isn't even funny, at it, and it just falls to the ground. And, I really just can't be bothered responding. It's just not even worth it. I mean, that's an army of trolls. I mean, even the trolls are shit. Where are the good trolls anymore? So, National are, really floundering. They're not leading in the polls. Labor leads them in the polls, and this really bugs those people because they voted for change. They believe in neoliberalism, and they believe that the superior economic managers are going to still fix the economy and that the cost of living crisis will be solved by someone in a pink pantsuit as long as they keep getting dressed up and putting on helmets and pretending to dig things that were actually going to start when they started anyway. It wasn't as if they started sooner because of National. Nothing was fast-tracked. So lastly, I just want to finish with saying that the only other area in which National are considered to be superior to Labour and the rest is defence. And when you think about defence, wow, we've already lost a ship under Judith Collins. We've decided to spend more because Trump wanted us to, and that was just an arbitrary decision that Trump came to the world and said, you've all got to pay about 5% of GDP, and we said, well, we'd better jump instead of looking at what we really need. And there's Judith wandering around with toy helicopters now saying, I'll wear it if you want me to. And so that perception that they're stronger on defence, that's about killing, stronger on police and crime, that's about violence, stronger on the economy, that's about money. But of course, they're not stronger on the economy. They're not at all. They're absolute shit show clowns when it comes to the economy. Look at all the data, look at all the projections, look at the way that they carry on. They're not open, they're not transparent. They're not even qualified. They don't even know what they're talking about, but still the trolls believe. And the police data, as I said, it's like this. So that's all just statistical noise, and they're making claims that aren't true. Even they, like Paul Goldsmith says, we expect the data to move around and be volatile. That's because it's just noise. So we've got to wait till October there. And when it comes to defence, this is a lot to do with $12.8 billion of stolen pay equity money. Remember that $12.8 billion that was stolen from 180,000 low-paid women. It's now going to the court. There's 5 unions taking it to the court, the High Court, to process whether that's, going to stand. And, you've got this Project 10. You've got, that was like an ambush on everybody. That wasn't open and transparent. That was about not having 2 systems because it's better to just steal money off people and give it to Judith. She needed $12 billion for helicopters, over the next 4 to 6 years. So look, defence, people think defence is going well. So that's basically all I had to say today. I had a bit of a social event last night. People came over. I enjoyed seeing everybody there. I'm sorry that a few of you couldn't make it that Vicky thought were coming along, but I'm sure we'll see you next time. And that's all from me today. This is Onitangi here. We're looking out over Onitangi, just above a road called Quelch Road. And this is where I come for a walk in the morning. Quelch makes me laugh every time I see it because it was the name of the headmaster in Billy Bunter's Greyfires. And when we were children, we used to read these Billy Bunter books, these comics that describe the adventures of Billy Bunter in his school days. So Quelch, I always say when I go around the corner. This is a beautiful beach at Onitangi, and it's probably close to, a bit over a mile long, and everyone likes to come down here and go for a walk along the beach, take their dog for a walk. Shout out to Pete, who gave me on a call on the way over here as I was going around a blind corner, and I think I was swearing at the time because I couldn't actually answer the phone while I'm driving, and it's in my pocket, and I'm going, fuck. So anyway, Pete really enjoyed his little talk to you yesterday, and he's probably out walking his dog on Parapara Umu Beach right now, like I am out here. So that's all from me. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. It's been pretty rainy and windy here. In fact, I just got rained on while I was doing this. But buckle in. We just got to get through this time and vote this government out. Remember the G News merch shop. Get your one-term government. Vote them out, New Zealand. You know what to do. And I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye.
Welcome to G News, the good news.